Oh, hey.
Hello.
I got the black lung pop.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Zero Strategy Podcast. This is episode 10, I want to say, which, like,
En español, episodio 10.
we're into double digits. I'm proud of us. I think this might also be our third week in a row podcasting consistently every Sunday.
En español,
Hell
semana
yeah.
3.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so I am joined today by my my co-hosts, Polar. What's up?
Hello, hola.
We have got
Hello.
Just Grog.
Hi there.
We've got the Mighty Kibbles.
Hello.
And returning from the store with the milk, we have Java Monkey.
I've got some bad news. I forgot the milk.
All this time, and you forgot the milk.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Did get beer though.
Oh, I knocked over a bunch of stuff.
Oh, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Yay!
So we got a few interesting things to talk about today. I'm looking forward to getting into it, but as always, to start us off, we're going to do a little brief catch up with everyone, see how everyone's been doing for the last week. So again, in the same order, Polar, how's your last week been? What have you been up to?
I've been on night shift all week, but I still get up way too early so I can play stupid games with you guys.
You do get up very
But
early.
honestly, I wouldn't do anything else. I wouldn't have it any other way, you know? It's been a blast.
That's what I like to hear. What about yourself, Grog? How's your week been?
Week's been okay. Kind of the same as usual. Been kind of in a funk, but otherwise things are good. I get a weird email from my work. I work for the city as a librarian, and one of the emails was like, so in the coming weeks, we're going to set up these calls so we can touch base to find out what work you can do from home. And the suggestions were read a book / magazine. And I was like, what?
Oh my god.
The fuck am I supposed to do with that? So I don't know. It's it'll be really interesting. I think they're desperate to try and figure out, one, how not to lay people off, but B, how to justify like the budget.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That's
We'll see.
hilarious.
I'm gonna
Librarian
say that
homework.
I'm doing professional development and like teaching myself how to edit.
Fair enough. Just be like, does reading Twitch chat count? I mean, that can be pretty interesting, honestly.
Oh, social media management.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a skill. Awesome. Kibbles, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good. I was gonna record a video, and then I came up with excuses day after day after day.
Nice. Yeah.
But, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Warzone, and that's been fun. 8 hours a day.
You have been. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Some of those clips. I saw the one where you edited like Michael Scott in the background.
Yeah.
That made me laugh so much. I really enjoyed that.
Kill myself.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good. All right, and Java, not just the last week. What have you been up to since you were last on the show? How's the streams going? How's
God, I
everything
mean, what an adventure we've got. Well, I worked a lot, I studied a lot, and I played a lot of video games. And then I played a lot more video games, and I forgot the milk. But no, yeah. We're currently, like, to give a snapshot of the last week at least for games wise, you know, we're struggling through the apocalypse. So naturally, the immediate response is to pick up an MMO and live vicariously through going outside in that. So I've been hooked on Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Monster Hunter.
No, I had my Monster Hunter phase. I got through all the new content with Monster Hunter, and then waiting on new stuff being released, like patch by patch, and then I got into Final Fantasy 14. So yeah.
Are you rating at least 2 meters apart?
Oh yeah, naturally. There's
Okay.
got to be social distancing in the raids.
Awesome. So, are you streaming a lot of Final Fantasy? I've seen you stream a lot of Monster Hunter. I don't know if I've seen you play Final Fantasy online.
Not on stream. It's been a really nice just off stream game, mainly because you just zombie out, like watch your show, watch someone else's stream and play it.
Sure.
At least for MMO leveling, I feel like it's not prime content. But I've been streaming a lot of Valorant recently as well, which has been fantastic fun because, as you know, that game is way too good right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't get enough of it.
That is a very good transition to our first topic. Thank you, Java.
You're welcome.
It's almost like you knew.
You're welcome. It's like I'm a podcasting professional.
Yeah.
Good to be back.
So yeah, the first thing we want to talk about a little is Valorant. Now we talked about it before previously, with regards to the fact that it had just insane viewer counts. You know, these streamers were just absolutely blowing up with this, right? You know, like some of the people you'd expect, you know, like the Summits, XQCs, those kind of people, just really, really big viewership. But that has led to a bit of a problem. And the problem being that there's I guess a pressure on these big streamers that they want to stay top of the directory, because if they've got all these viewers, you know, essentially they're making money on this, right? So they want to stay on. And I mean, I watched a couple of weeks ago Summit do, I think, like 19-20 hour stream. You know, it was one of those days where I went to bed and he was streaming, and then I woke up the next day and he was still live, you know, like, just because, I mean, obviously you're going to capitalize on this, the extra visibility, the extra viewership, all this stuff. However, some people are kind of gaming the system a little bit. And what they're doing is they're running VODs, and basically they're live 24/7. I don't know if anyone else knows any more about this or wants to explain it, but as far as I'm understanding it, they don't want to lose their spot in the directory to someone else. So when they're done streaming, instead of ending the stream or hosting out or raiding out, they're just basically replaying the entire VOD again. But they're not doing an actual Twitch rerun, which is a feature on Twitch. They're literally just live on the channel, but overlaying their stream with a video from an old stream. Is that correct? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they do it that way? What's what does rerunning?
That's the question. Kibbles, you're about to explain it. Go.
If they use the rerun feature, it actually shows that it's a rerun. If they just replay it themselves, it looks like you're just live.
And if you
And-
rerun, I
What people
believe
saying in there.
I believe when you do an actual rerun, it doesn't give you priority in the directory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe so.
And the other thing too is that depending on the size of the streamer at hand, you know, a lot of the big personalities, even mid-tier personalities that are cultivating, you know, several hundred, if not thousands, of streamers or viewers at a time, they aren't necessarily engaging chat that much. They're kind of just playing. They're engaging their team, you know, in voice chat. So it's like there's almost is there a duplicity in, like, you're tuning into a live stream that's not actually live, but it's not being advertised as a rerun, you know, like, because there's no way to necessarily know what chat is then saying is even being picked up, because they
Right.
weren't even talking to chat in the first place.
Exactly. If that stream's got 20 to 30,000 viewers, they're not
Yeah.
actively engaging the chat anyway, so it is hard to tell. Which is, I think,
Yeah.
part of the problem is that it's sort of deceptive. I guess to start off, have any of you guys ever used the rerun feature on Twitch?
Never.
No. I've watched reruns.
Yeah, I've watched
Yeah.
VODs like with like personal intent. Like, I'm like, oh shit, Condi said he was going to be doing this thing today, or like this other streamer said he was going to be doing this thing today. Like, I really wanted to miss that, but I was working, or like I had to run errands or whatever. And I'll go back, or sometimes I'll go back and, like, if I was playing with a buddy who also streams, then I'll want to see something from their point of view, you know, like stuff like that. But usually it's kind of like an edge case scenario where I feel like I missed a specific thing, or there was a specific broadcast. But yeah, I've never used the actual rerun feature, because I feel like that kind of defeats Twitch is all about the interactivity, you know, like YouTube is kind of about that asynchronous, like, content has been created, you watch it at your leisure, you know, and it's made with that in mind. Twitch is kind of all about, you know, the spur of the moment.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, it just I don't know, it just feels off, feels weird.
You need to go to the weirder corners of Twitch and watch actual reruns. You know what? I was iffy if I was gonna say this, but you know what? I don't care. I like ASMR. It's satisfying, it's relaxing, and a lot of them are rerunning constantly.
Yeah,
They're live,
I've heard
they
that.
That's the
run
question.
reruns
Yeah.
all the time. That's it. That's all. I
Wow,
Yeah, so I
Polar's
watch
just
reruns
opened up to us, so I mean,
I've never seen
but-
the side of him.
I just don't. I mean, I guess I didn't know that rerunning didn't keep you on the directory. I thought it did, but I guess not.
I don't know, because it still shows on the directory, but I remember distinctly it used to treat you as if you were live. It was the exact same thing. The only difference was instead of the little live marker, it would say rerun, right? And I mean, I remember in the golden days of Ninja on Twitch, he would run a rerun. He'd get 20,000 viewers. And I remember opening up that rerun and just seeing a wall of Prime subs, and every second comment in chat is this live? Is this live? Is this live? Ninja, look at me, notice me. Like, and it was like people don't know. And I remember streamers being frustrated because, well, they're trying to stream Fortnite. What chance do they have to grow if Ninja does streams for however many hours and then says, okay, I'm away, I'm just going to do a rerun now, and just stays right there at the top of the directory. Doesn't let anyone else get a chance. And I think they did change reruns for that reason, but I'm not actually sure because I've never used it myself either. I kind of feel like when you're still at the stage that chat is like the main thing, like if you're a sort of quote unquote smaller streamer, reruns are effectively pointless in my opinion. Unless you're streaming, like you're rerunning like a tournament thing or something like that. Like it just it would feel weird, right? And I don't know how the priority works now, but I believe the reason that people are literally just live and running a VOD in their OBS is because then they get a higher priority over those reruns, I think. Now, Polar brought up like the topic of ASMR, right, which is a well-known one for reruns, right? But I can almost understand it because I feel like the content is right for that.
Isn't there? I wouldn't classify.
We weren't saying it. But...
Well, I just mean that, like, for an ASMR stream, again, you're not going, thank you very much for the $5 donation. Like, you're not doing that, right? Did you like that, Polar? Did that do it for you?
You're supposed to turn your gain
Don't
more.
run off again.
They actually do that.
Do they really? Do they actually?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They still.
Okay,
they'll
fair
be,
enough.
They'll be doing their thing. And,
But it's minimal
Thank you for
chat
the sub.
interaction, I assume, right? The thing is,
No,
like,
the
with an
chat's
ASMR,
going up.
you could do a stream for 8 hours, record that ASMR, because I don't consume ASMR content myself, but I presume, maybe you can answer, Polar, I assume the answer is basically headphones on and just kind of zone out, not really interacting in chat, you know, because I guess a keyboard is going to just ruin that experience, right? You're just listening. So
no, they talk to chat. I mean, they interact. Chat's blowing up. They're thanking everybody, how you doing, type things, all while scratching and poking and prodding and
I guess
whatever else they do.
I must have got the wrong
Those are
vibe.
words
You need to go check it out. It's great.
I think needs a strong word.
I mean, even then,
We're not-
so that's the
out,
case.
you're
You could
missing
you could do an 8-hour ASMR stream, record it, and then just run reruns the rest of the week. And I'm sure I've seen that happen in the past, but I feel like that content is more within the context of a rerun than like live game content or something, you know? Yeah, I mean, I guess just what's your guys' thoughts on the whole situation right now with
It's funny that ASMR does get brought up because now that we're talking about it and I'm thinking about it, it is almost kind of this arbitrary distinction, right? Like, I mean, how does, just to play devil's advocate for a moment, because I'm not a fan of rebroadcasting in that way, but like, what is the difference? I mean, like, is there anything that is inherently, depending on the level of chat interaction, if chat interaction isn't really going to be there and it is someone who's just purely presenting gameplay, is there really a difference between, say, like ASMR like rebroadcast versus like Valorant or any other, you know, sort of live Twitch action sort of shootery gameplay? Like, does
I
that
think there's
matter?
a difference because I mean, when you're watching someone, like if we go into any one of our chats when we're streaming, like the whole point's not necessarily just to watch you guys play video games. It's to interact with either whoever else is in chat, the streamer. So I mean, interaction's a big part of the stream. So rerunning
Sure.
of those is kind of weird. ASMR is different because like me personally, I don't go there to interact with anybody. I don't want anybody to know I'm even there. You know?
he's got his sunglasses on, the hood up.
It's more, I look at it as like a service industry. You know, I'll find one that sounds good. I like put it in the background, so I'm not even looking at what they're doing because it's weird.
Well, on
and
that
I
note,
just
then,
zone
does
out.
that need to be on Twitch? Could that not be on a video on demand service rather than on a live streaming service in
Yeah.
that case?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't be scantily clad making bank. You know what I mean?
It's true. See, but that's the way that I imagined most ASMR content was kind of consumed. You know, we're just headphones on, you're not really paying too much attention, you're listening, right? So there, in that case, you're not gonna necessarily even know that it's a rerun you're listening to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, I think,
Exactly.
ASMR streamers probably have the right idea with that. And like, yeah, I fancy a day off today. I'm just gonna rerun yesterday's stream. You know, you could still potentially be doing quite well.
Oh, and I've seen like like when you go browse and you have the ASMR channels, like there'll be people that are reruns that are high, like the top 3 spots will be rerun people. They won't even be live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then that's also then the question of having it sort of, though it enables those streamers with a larger audience to kind of just monopolize the whole thing, right? And that's kind of the issue that I think we're having now, especially with people kind of being a bit dishonest about it, just streaming 24 hours a day, just raking in that, you know, that ad revenue, whatever else of all these viewers that are coming in, and not giving other people an opportunity at all, especially in a game where there is like, from like a business viewership perspective, fucking Valorant is huge right now. It's like the new hotness, right? And I had a really good question, but I've forgotten it. I guess.
Well,
Sorry, go on.
I mean, part of the thing that kind of brings this to the forefront and makes it like the reason why we thought to bring it up was about Valorant specifically because it is atypical for that genre of game.
Yeah,
for it to be so prevalent. I mean, I think it's kind of like baldly obvious that if the whole beta key thing wasn't part of the equation, you would not see this to the degree that it is presently.
yeah,
And I guess I don't know, like it kind of begs the question, like will this become a thing more in the future if other companies persistently use Twitch as a playground for both raking in ad revenue, hyping up a new franchise, and also at the same time, you know, basically creating fodder for their beta process. I think the whole drop key thing is like an interesting idea, but it is funny too because you go into some of these channels and it's just people who, whether they're live or whether it's just a rerun, not an actual rerun, but they're just rerunning content, and it's just people spamming like exclamation point give key or
exclamation
drop
point
or whatever,
drops.
and it's like and like none of that does anything, but like, you know, then the people are asking other people in the channel like, is this how I do it? And like nobody fucking knows. And it's just like this sea of like shitty commentary that isn't even directed at the streamer. Because whether they're live or not, some of that is like people are just like, I just want to get my fucking key and get out. I think it almost you wouldn't have the rerun problem if you didn't have the key, but then the key itself almost creates a different kind of problem where it, in some ways, you're going to have viewership that isn't really there to be to want to be engaged by the streamer. They're just there because they want to get theirs and get out.
Yeah.
And it's like it's almost at cross purposes, you know, for what both ostensibly what both audiences are supposed to be doing, like why the streamer's there, why the audience is there. Yeah, strange. I don't know.
I remembered the point I was gonna raise, and I wanted to kind of say like, I think there's obviously enough people that are out there that are kind of aware enough or conscious enough of the situation that they're, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of talk of people like that know this is happening and they're actively avoiding these streams. I mean, I had people come into my stream today and say, hey, I just was scrolling down trying to avoid the 24/7 you know, reruns, and I think that's stupid, and I found your channel. And it's like, you know, people are actively opening the directory and going like, oh, I don't like this, I'm scrolling away. But there's so many people, particularly with the drops like you're mentioning, that they're maybe they're even brand new to Twitch, they don't know, they just want the code, and they don't know any the wiser, and that's what's being kind of preyed on is that those people don't get it. My question, because the reason that streamers are mad, or the reason that there's a bit of drama with it, is because obviously, like I mentioned, streamers that maybe would be at the top of the directory if big channel number 3 was actually offline, they're not getting that chance. As we know, with Twitch, the more viewers you have, higher in the directory you get, ergo more viewers you get, and it's a snowball, right? And I guess this brings up, does this highlight a bigger issue with Twitch, which is the whole discoverability? Because it's always been the thing that, you know, we talked about it previously with social media, right? A lot of these platforms have algorithms that help people find what they like. And I know Twitch has a recommended, but really, how often do any of you click on your recommended? It's very rare, for me at least.
I don't think the UI is even geared towards pushing you in that direction.
Yeah,
the thing
what's
that
the
it
point
always
in
seems to be geared
tags?
towards is the when you first hit the homepage on a desktop, it's always it's not even your recommended channels, it's just the highlighted channels based around a theme. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a guy walking on a treadmill just like, I'm like, what the fuck is it? Like, I don't give a shit about this. Like, this is not recommended for me. My recommendations are like buried much further down.
Every time I see it, I just think Twitch is just shaming me. Like, yeah, get to the gym. Okay.
It's the thing. My recommended is all like games I'm not even really interested in, because I'll watch streamers like, I'm a big fan of Tim the Tatman. He played a lot of Fortnite back in the day, so tons of my recommended channels are Fortnite. I'm like, I don't want to watch Fortnite really. I'm watching a stream for the streamer, right? So, and it's I'm not saying this is an easy problem to solve, because again, the point of YouTube is that, you know, that content's pre-made and you've kind of got categories you can put these into. I appreciate the same thing is sort of there with YouTube, but with Twitch it is hard because a lot of people watch for the streamer, the personality, or the community. And I don't think Twitch has any way of algorithmically being like, oh, this guy is funny, so this guy's also funny, or this guy's got a cool green screen, this guy also has a cool green screen. There's no way of doing that, right? So discoverability on Twitch, I think, is something that they need to fix, because if we look at rival streaming platforms, and the main one I'm thinking is YouTube, because we know how incredibly powerful that algorithm is on YouTube for recommending. Once they sort that out, the live streaming thing, their discoverability for streamers, I think, is going to be huge if they really decide to go in there. And Twitch doesn't have that, you know? So because of that, that's why we get this issue coming in with people abusing it, effectively. Do you guys think like Twitch should be banning some of these people for doing it? Is it a TOS issue? I'm not familiar if it's a TOS
before we
thing.
move on to that, I just want to poll the room. When was the last time you guys really focused on your tags on your going live on your dashboard? Like, how much thought do you genuinely put into that, and how much impact do you guys think that actually has on your discoverability?
Thought, yes. Impact, none.
Yeah.
I actually do every
I'd
time.
probably say the
Notoriously
same.
bad at
I'm
them.
also talking about
Yes. I think one time I've changed it. I've probably changed it 3 times ever, depending on what's going on. And I think one time someone actually came in, because I think right now it's like, no, you're attractive or something like that. And someone actually came in and was like, no, you're attractive. It was like the first time anyone was, I was like, what are you talking about? Thanks, I guess. Like, no, you're going live. I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I feel the
Yeah.
big thing with the tags is when someone comes into your channel, they're then there to see. And it's like, okay, so this person's doing PvE or PvP, new player, experienced player, end game, advice, leveling, whatever it might be. But that, from what I understand, I don't think it has any impact on your discoverability. There's no, people can search for a tag and be like, oh, I'm looking for...
I don't think you
people in
can
certain
search
communities.
tags, can you?
Exactly.
What
And I think
is the
that's
point
the
of
big
them?
distinction between YouTube and Twitch is on YouTube, those tags and that algorithm has a huge effect. Like, what you put in them makes it much more discoverable.
I
I'm
think...
wondering if that could be a way Twitch could go.
Yeah, no, totally. I think they had good intentions with tags. I think effectively the only way you can use tags now is if you're in a stream already and they have a tag, and then you click on that tag and maybe find other streams with the same one.
Yeah.
I personally...
I haven't tried.
Yeah, see, I don't know. That's as far as I know, that's really the only way to browse tags, is you have to just find a streamer that already has that tag in there. I personally always put tags on, even though I feel like they have no impact. Like the one, if I was playing Death Stranding and I put the no spoilers tag on, and it was like a big, kick me sign of spoilers that just came into the stream. Like, and I was like, well, that was dumb. Like, why did I do that? You know? So like, the if you ever look at like your post stream stats, and it'll tell you like where your viewers, like if they came from this channel, what other games your viewers are watching. There's one time where I saw that I had one viewer come in from the end game tag. And in the last 6 months, I think that's the only time a tag has ever brought a single person to my stream. And I thought the playing with viewers tag would probably be a popular one, but I feel like I just feel like they're pointless.
I think the problem is that Twitch knows as a company how powerful, because I mean effectively a tag is just a metadata tool, right? So you can just flag content. The problem is that if you don't have a system in which you can actually leverage and utilize that information, it is useless. And the problem right now is their UI and the user experience is different, both depending on the platform you're viewing it. So like if you are at least on a desktop, you can see more of the description of the channel and actually like see the tags when you're searching through the directory based on the game that you want. But when you're like, looking on mobile, a lot of them are either cut off or you just don't see them. So right there, they're useless. As Java mentioned, I don't even know that they're searchable unless they seem to be hyperlinked. Like you could be on a channel and click one and take you to another. But I mean, if you're clicking like the PvP one and you're on I don't know, let's say Valorant, and then what is it taking you to? CSGO, like Siege Rainbow Six? Like, I mean, they're very different games. Like,
Yeah.
Twitch seems to be geared almost exclusively to identify what franchise or game an individual is looking for, direct them to that game, and then the only filtering after that is view count. So like the tags don't do anything because the discoverability is based really on ad hoc kind of word of mouth stuff, getting that host, getting that raid, getting people to, like through third party means by like, Twitter or other media channels to be like, hey, go check out this buddy of mine, or like this other streamer, I think she makes content, or whatever it is. That seems to be sort of the grassroots level of awareness that happens to get people to go to a specific place, whereas normally Twitch only seems to care about direct, like title, directory,
Yeah.
and then that's it. It's everything that falls under that, and the only ranking right now is just views, and that's.
Can you type your own tag into Twitch, or is it just the pre PvP, PvE?
Yeah, you can't make your own.
Because I think that's how YouTube you can just make your own, right? You can just type whatever you want into it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
See, I think the purpose that tags are serving right now, I think a lot of people thought they would be discoverability, and I feel like right now the way I view them is just to give someone a maybe a quicker description of the stream.
Idea of what's going on. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So like, and at least I do feel like they're worth putting in there for the 2 seconds it takes, and a lot of them autofill as well, right? Like a lot of them do autofill when you put in a game or whatever, right? But at least you can kind of, a game like Destiny, for example, there is a million things to do. You could be doing PvE, you could be doing PvP, you might be in trials, you might be in comp, you might be in Gambit, maybe, I don't know. But like, at least if I click on a Destiny stream, maybe they're in orbit, right? I don't know what they're doing. I can see in the tags, oh, competitive, oh, PvP, end game, maybe they're raiding. Like, I can see that stuff. So at least without having to go in and ask the activity, I can maybe get a brief idea of the stream, right? So that's kind of how I view them at the moment. But it's really just, I think that's the limit of them.
Yeah, the only time that I've really felt like a tag has been useful, but I don't think it's been useful in respect to discoverability. It's just like I'm more crossing my fingers and praying that it's helpful. Is having played more Warzone recently, because there isn't a dedicated directory for the Battle Royale mode. You're just under Call of Duty Modern Warfare. But I do feel like the Warzone BR is different and substantial enough to be its own directory, but because it isn't one, like I'm not doing just like a multiplayer playlist, like deathmatch style stuff. Like I'm doing this totally different thing, and if that's the focus of the stream, there is a Battle Royale multiplayer tag, and so I throw that on if I stream it, because I figure like, well, maybe if people are skimming through, they'll see and they're looking for Warzone explicitly, maybe they'll know that this is that channel. But I think the problem is that yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I say, getting back to the sort of topic of the discoverability and the Valorant streams, do you guys think Twitch needs to take any action on this? Do you think it's best that they just kind of let this ride this one out? Anyone, any thoughts?
I think it's just going to be. I mean, I don't know what they probably won't do anything about it because I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. I mean, yeah, it might screw some people over that they might be higher up on the directory than someone that's. I mean, because you're streaming your content, so I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think you're like breaking any rules there. It's weird, but I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily rule violating weird.
Yeah, and I would hope they wouldn't take action immediately without first clarifying to people, being like, hey, if they do have a problem with it, they should explicitly state, hey, don't do this.
Stop doing this. Yeah,
Instead of just immediately going,
Yeah.
no.
that's fair.
Yeah, and in,
Stop hitting that
in
desk.
Valorant's case, you do have this sort of like outside influence of the whole beta key thing. Like that, if you would, you couldn't also make a broad blanket decision to how reruns that, or sorry, not reruns, but just like rebroadcasting while live. Like you couldn't base that solely on a directory right now that is trending in a certain direction, based purely on outside influence, like say having this beta key process, because then then it would affect other things like, as Polar mentioned, ASMR. It's big in that, and people don't take umbrage. So
True. And the
Yeah.
Valorant situation likely will blow over in a few weeks as the more and more people get these drops and the hype dies down a little bit. But it is interesting because we mentioned before that this whole move by Riot with Valorant was kind of genius. It's win-win-win, right? The game's getting a lot of attention and hype. The developers are probably making bank. Streamers are getting growth and making good money as well. Twitch as a platform is probably up in viewership. Like, it is win-win because people are hyped about the game, and people are getting to jump into this game for free if they get a code, and all they've got to do is watch streams. Like, it is win-win, and we sort of said that we can see maybe other companies doing this in future. And I'm just wondering if Twitch will maybe update their TOS or something before another one of these events happen.
Well, it is. I think it's win-win based on who you are, your connectivity, because
True,
the
yes.
initial batch of streamers that get it clearly are they have huge advantage. Anyone else who's going to come along is, it's going to be this like trickle down process of like, well, you've already headhunted these like 10 to 20 people that you want to give access to it, but you've basically guaranteed those people are going to get a fuck ton of pre-roll, ads, through their channel based on viewership. They're going to get potential subs in gifted subs as hype trains come through. And like, so that those people, because either they were lucky, because of they're well connected, because they just know how to network, because of just they have a long standing presence in that directory, or just with that game, or with a genre, they get treatment up front, which then allows them to kind of leverage this process more, so that they could potentially create a body of content that allows them to be more likely to rerun it. Whereas if you're a small streamer and you just do like 4 hours of content, rerunning the same 4 hours of content, people will start to figure that out pretty quickly. But if you're already doing like like you said, Summit did on a 19-hour stream, not that Summit's rerunning his shit, but like if you wanted to, I mean, how would you remember exactly which bomb planting at which point and
Yeah.
which hour did like it all just blurs together at a certain point. So the people up front, it's win-win-win. It's the people down the line, people like now, who are never going to break into even like the top, or like let's say the bottom 60th percent of the directory, because they're just going to be squashed down.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree. It's a tough situation, and I'll be interested to see what Twitch do about it, if anything. That they won't. I feel like they're not going to be happy about it. Just my thoughts, because it does seem like the community that's aware of what's going on doesn't like it as a whole. I don't think I've seen anyone defend it really, because it just feels shady. It kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, unless anyone else has got any input on this topic, it does kind of lead us into our next topic, which was building trust with your audience. And I feel like the Valorant streams, particularly for people that maybe don't know, it is a little bit it's a little bit dishonest, passing it off as a live stream when it's not. But yeah, so we wanted to talk a little around how to build trust with your audience and as a side to that kind of grow and develop a community. Grog, and this was kind of your topic that you brought to us. Do you want to give us a kind of an overview, what you think, or what what you want our thoughts on?
I think that like people can cultivate. I mean, as a content creator, you can cultivate trust a couple different ways. Some of it is maybe how you engage your chat midstream. If something, let's say something happens, there's a troll in chat, or maybe there's an argument even just between two chatters. How you navigate that, can kind of like there's like certain optics that you're creating around how you as a streamer are going to handle content in the future and how you're going to handle it in the present. And that's going to like tune some people out or tune more people in. They see if you handle it in an interesting way or a mature way, that could be a turn on for people. Whereas like if you're just, you say something cringy, you could buy their house or like buy the bank that owns their house. Yeah, like that it could erode trust. But I mean, it's also things like, if you have a schedule, how regular is it? Do you just go and stream by the seat of your pants when you feel like it? Like, how do you, I don't know, like there's people that come into stream that, are regulars. Do you try and remember key factoids about them to kind of personalize the experience? Or, do you, I notice that a lot of people here on like the panel will go out of their way to be like, how do you pronounce your name? Like, I don't want to say it wrong, and I think like that is just a small thing, but it's like, it's a small but courteous action. Yeah. Like it's a small but courteous thing. So like if somebody has, kind of weird phrasing or if it's rooted in a different language, like you don't want to like fuck it up. And then every time you're saying it, it just comes off as a slight because you couldn't be bothered to ask. And I think that there's lots of little ways that like trust, well, obviously trust matters, but it's how you go about cultivating it. I was just kind of curious, like, some of the things that people do either with their mods or with themselves as a streamer to make sure that they have a welcoming environment for their viewership.
I think it's different depending on your kind of level at it, because there's probably more there's more viewer streamer engagement on the lower end, I feel, because when you're at like Summit with his Valorant streams, he's got, the first day he had what, like 100,000 people or something like that on his stream. He's not talking in chat, you know what I mean? Like he's not building any trust with those people or doing anything with them other than like get your drops type of thing. I don't know. And so like I feel like the bigger focus on that is on smaller streamers, because they actually, you can have the time to actually look at chat, read chat, interact with the people that are coming back, seeing those names again. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, because Glad's a good example. He does really good at interacting with his chat, even though he's a big streamer. He's got a bunch of people in there blasting up his chat all day long. But it's different depending on kind of your level of interaction, how many people are just kind of blowing up your chat.
Well, I think the consistent thing across like any size of stream, and at least this is kind of the streams I enjoy and what I try and emulate, is the sense of community. Be it in your chat, in your Discord, through Twitter. Hell, if you've got a Skype group call because you're rocking that OG system and you just love Skype so much. However you do it, it's that sense of community. It's that bond you build with the people who come to watch your stream and your audience, and then eventually your community, the people who come back, who hang out with, who will join you for games, who will always be there as the regulars. Even if your chat's popping off, it's making sure you engage with everyone and let them know that you appreciate them being there and that their presence and their part of the community matters. I think that's the big thing.
And that's actually a pretty good point too, because you're talking, even if you are bigger and your chat is going crazy and you're newer to the streamer and you see them interact with the regulars, they know their name. Hey, how's it going? Hey, your dog was in the hospital, or how'd that go? And you see them actually, getting personal with just, to you, a random person in the stream. and you can be like, oh, like he actually or they actually, care about the people that are still there, type of thing, and it can kind of maybe push someone to be like, I'm going to keep with this and to be part of the community rather than just kind of watching the community.
Yeah, I think the thing is to remember is that a lot of these big streamers have done that already, right? Summit is a guy who's been around for like, I don't know, centuries. Like he's been streaming for so long, and he's built that trust with his community. And if you remember, I don't know if I want to bring this up, but if you remember a while ago, I say a while, like a few years ago, Summit, he kind of broke that trust with his community when he streamed with Logan Paul, if you remember. Was it Logan Paul? I think it was Logan Paul. And his chat hated that, and there was like a big rebellion, and he did a stream with like no cam, didn't talk to his chat, and he sort of built, he mended that, he built those bridges back up again. But that's an example of like, even a big streamer like that, he built the trust with his community by having the same consistent brand, the same, I guess schedule's part of it, but like he built that up from being a small streamer, because everyone starts somewhere. And even at that size, at the sort of large viewership and community that he has, that trust can still be broken. You're not ever immune to that. So I guess just if we were to break this down, this whole topic, why do you want to build trust? What is the benefit of it? You're just starting your stream. Why is it important to have that sort of community value?
I think it's a core. It's the bottom of the pyramid that supports your stream, because give me a second. I definitely didn't just blank out everything I was about to say. I promise. It's never happened before.
Improvise.
What? I'll get someone else go. I'll remember it.
Well,
we'll edit that out in post. Don't worry, Polar. It's fine.
Oh my god.
To springboard off of it, I think the reason why trust is an integral part of the foundation of any channel, whether it's consumed live or whether it's consumed, like asynchronously like YouTube, it's because there is a certain amount of respect that you can demonstrate for your viewer where you value their time. Think about, like, let's not even think about Twitch for a second. Let's think about YouTube. There's so many YouTubers that get shit for, trying to hit the 10-minute mark so that they can monetize the material, and so that they have these long introductions. They don't get to the point. There's a lot of like rambling, and I think some people do filler well, and they can. It's obvious that they're either trying, they need to squeeze in some ad placement, or they're trying to like pad a little bit for time, but they can do it in an interesting way. And then other people where it's just like it just feels onerous. Like you're just like, oh, how far do I have to fucking scrub to get to the content here? And I think there can be a distinction where people may not always be valuing their viewers' time. And if that means that if you're live, everyone's going to miss comments and chat. Things will scroll by too fast that you don't hit. But then there's some people who, you tune into a channel and they're just not making any effort. Obviously, you can make concessions for like a really big viewer. If there's thousands of people watching, they're not going to be engaging the same way. But I think that there are a multitude of little things that add up so that you feel valued. You feel like feeling recognized, like getting a shout out for like a donation or for bits or for a subbage or for a host or whatever is like a nice little dopamine hit. But also at the same time, it's just being seen and feeling like you're engaging in this thing, which is meant to be interactive. At least from a Twitch perspective, if you don't feel trusted, or rather you don't feel like you have the trust of the viewer, or the streamer, like it's just, why stay? Like what incentive there's other channels where eventually you'll stumble across one where you feel like a welcome part of the community. If you don't ever feel welcome, I mean, like, why? It translates to everything. If you go to a restaurant and the service is bad, you just go to a different restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, you just go to a different channel.
Yeah, it's a great analogy, honestly. So what I want to do, if you guys are on board with this, just go around and give one tip each person one tip on how they.
We didn't talk about this on that.
One thing that you do. So, well, you're going last, Polar, so you'll have plenty of time to think about it, but you can't copy an answer.
Okay, well now I'm upset that I'm going last.
Yeah.
Why am I going last?
I want to
Wanna be
give
punished?
everyone to give one example of maybe something that they do or advice that they would give to build that community. Like, what's one thing that you do? Java's got his notepad out. I like it.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to find where this was in the script.
Yeah. We're off script, baby. We're winging it. Grog, hit me with one tip or one thing that you do to build that.
For me, one thing that I've tried to work on recently is scheduling, trying to make sure that I am consistent. Now, obviously, some people have that, like they have a busy class schedule or they have a busy work schedule, and they kind of have to go live when they can go live.
Mhm.
Now, like for me, I'm in a position where I can create a schedule, and I think it's important both for me and for the viewers because I have people message me if I'm a little late, not necessarily like to the minute, but like, if something came up and I failed to notify people via Twitter, I failed to like do the due diligence to be like, oh shit, something came up, I'm going to be running late today. Then I get messages like, hey, is everything okay? Or like, is there a stream today? And I'm not necessarily looking at it like I've broken their trust, but I mean, I have broken their expectation. And so what I want to do is make sure that I have a kind of a definitely a firm start, a kind of a relative end time in mind, and that way I have it planned out. And if I'm going to be 20 minutes late, I'll post to that effect saying as such, and I'll try to explain why. Just keeping dialogue open and the communication for me, I think, is outside of stream can be important for cultivating trust.
Cool. So schedule, consistency with that, and communication sounds good. Java, what do you think?
All right, I'm already noticing we're gonna run out of saying similar things towards
But
the end.
that's
I've got
okay.
to really, I've really got to agree. The big thing for me is like consistent schedule is definitely a big part. Over the winter, like with work, that kind of went out the window a bit, and I realized like getting back into streaming more regularly, exactly as Grog said, it's about communicating outside of the stream time. It's like saying, okay, I will be running late. This has come up. Getting conversation engaged with your community outside your time for streaming as well, and making sure people know that the time they invest into you, you're equally investing into them. I think it's, especially with Twitch being a live service platform, it is about that. I hate using the term live service, that just makes me think of but being a live platform, it is about that two-way dialogue. It is about making more of that effort to continue that interaction with everyone. Because I've always said this for myself, the biggest joy of streaming is having that interaction while you're live. And then maybe with the lockdown, having more free time, it's realizing, well, I've got more of this time. I would like to extend that outside. Make sure those people that I've missed out on who couldn't make it to a stream, be it time zone, their own personal stuff, make sure I'm keeping that interaction going with them. And to completely yoink from chat, as Adu said, following through with what you've said, delivering on those things, making sure that it's not just empty service and showing that meaning to your actions, like giving back to what everyone gave to you, like to reference what we said earlier about valuing their time. Ultimately, like it all starts with everyone starts as a viewer, and even though they're not following, they're not subbing, they're not donating, like any of that stuff that some people put their I personally feel incorrect focus on. Ultimately, it starts with the time someone takes to watch your stream and engage with your content, and it's giving some of that back and saying, well, here's my time that I want to give back to you as an engagement and as a build of this relationship and this trust in what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Condi actually paid me to go into his chat the first time. So.
Oh yeah, no, same.
That's
same.
that's the thing we don't
Wait,
talk
what?
about. Is you
It was like you got.
Oh wait, we weren't meant to tell Kibbles.
Wait, you guys are getting paid. Kibbles, if you can think of anything, what would you say as a bit of advice or something that you do?
Outside of something really simple like just saying hello to people and making sure you're trying to keep conversation, because you're obviously not going to start off as a big streamer, so you don't need to really worry about, oh man, I can't keep up with chat, there's too much going on. So if someone comes in, say hello, you gotta talk to them. You can't just ignore them. It makes it really awkward because I've come into chats before and I'll see things come up and they'll just go and not say anything. It's like, oh, that was weird. Maybe they don't like that person. And then it happens a couple more times, like, okay. So really just kind of putting that out there that you really need to look at what's going on, react to it, have a conversation, maybe try and further the conversation a little further. But outside of what you guys already said, there's not much else I can think of really.
Yeah,
Small brain.
I think that's a good one. Making sure to
Small brain.
it's an obvious one, which is probably why you don't necessarily think of it. But yeah, literally talk to chat. It's what you're there to do. That's priority number one. It should always be, really. Assuming that's the kind of, I mean, if you're a professional player that's playing tournaments, maybe it's not priority number one. But for the vast majority of us, yeah, talk to chat. That's 100% it. Polar, since I've just done you dirty and left you to last, you got anything? I mean, I know there's other things that you do.
I do.
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Hit me with it.
Yeah. Big brain thoughts.
Oh,
That's right.
wow.
Notes taken.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was his shopping list, by the way.
It just said
beer.
Yeah.
Beer.
V8 celery. V8 celery.
Yeah, okay. That's never entering my grocery list. One thing I think is important is it hasn't been mentioned yet, scheduling. That was a joke. You already said scheduling.
Okay. Oh, God. Oh, that was so. I thought that was going to be so awkward there. Wow.
Oh my gosh. I'm done. Get out of here.
Wow.
No.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to let you just talk.
No.
Everyone's like looking at each other like, what's Polar going on?
Is he actually awake? Did he wake up yet? Is he drunk now? No. Scheduling, yes, is important. I think for me anyway, because it's true to kind of how I am IRL, as the kids say. Honesty, being real, and being true to yourself when you have people in there. People can sense it, whether like when I'm watching somebody and I'm just like, you seem like a tool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't seem real. You seem fake. And I hate that. And so the best thing and the best tip I can do is just when people are finally there after, you have your, do everything else that all the other people said, is just be yourself, be honest, and don't try to be something else thinking that it's going to gain you something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Organic growth doesn't come from that. It comes from people wanting to hang out with you, not you pretending to be somebody else. So that's what I got.
Yeah, like ultimately, like it's easy, especially when you first start streaming, to doubt like, well, will people like me? Will people like the kind of person I am? Will they want to hang out with who I am? Ultimately, stick true to who you are, because like it won't be for everyone. There's gonna be people like, oh, this guy's loud and annoying. This guy's
Condi.
just really laid back and doesn't care. This guy's got a terrible sense of humor,
Condi.
whatever. Like
Polar.
Wow. Also, as a bit of advice, don't just
like,
take
the
jabs at your
people who do
friends.
come in and genuinely like you for who you are. Like those are the ones that are gonna matter. Like if you're pretending to be someone else, yeah, it might attract more people to try and like cast a wide net. But if it's not who you truly are, eventually like you're gonna run out of energy to try and pretend to be that person, or they're just gonna move on to someone else. Be you, however weird you are, embrace it, own it, and just
There's always going to be there is an audience for everything and everyone. Anybody who's
Learning that
been
more and
on
more.
anywhere on the darkest corners of YouTube and the web, there is a audience for everything.
Yeah.
And you are that audience. There's I mean, there's a
love it.
comment by Addy in chat, which I thought was really good, which is just fakeness can be detected a mile away. And I think that's so true. If you got to be yourself, you can't, I mean, you can embellish things, obviously, like there is sometimes maybe you're not feeling like up for it. Everyone has a bad day. Sometimes you just need like to not fake it, but like you're trying to project a little bit more when maybe, you're feeling a little down, a little more turning inward. And that kind of stuff is like fine. I think it's like when you're like Polar was saying, like when you're trying to cultivate this persona that isn't really you, it's not sustainable. Unless you literally have to become that person. But it's like, well, if you weren't that person to begin with, like how much effort are you really gonna have to dedicate to becoming this individual that you aren't? There was a
I mean,
comment.
I'm all for personal growth and changing who you are as a person through learning through experience and that kind
Yeah.
of mindset. But yeah, like if you're gonna do that, commit to it. Like people will change as a person, especially as a streamer. Like you're putting yourself out there, like people's behaviors and beliefs and attitudes will change. But yeah, don't fake it.
There was also a
You hear
question
that, ladies?
by
Oh, way to
There's a
lower the
question by
tone,
Dennis in
Polar.
chat, which I think is relevant to this, which was, where do you build a community when it comes to streaming? You know, do you start with Twitter, Discord, what?
Well, personally, I stream on Twitch.
So I saw that question as well. I think like particularly with
I think continuing to cultivate outside the channel,
exactly.
I guess, is maybe the
and Java
crux of the
made
question.
that point in his, which was to be communicating off your like allotted stream time, right? When you're when you're in your free time, or you're not live. For me, it's Discord all the way, because Twitter banned me. All right, so you know, I am all my Twitter. Like I'm putting zero effort into Twitter from now on. I hate those guys. Please don't ban me again. I'm gonna have to go to 3 Ys at the end of my name. It's gonna be terrible. Discord is, I think, the best. We use it for everything. Like Discord is like the first thing I click on when I turn on my computer every day. I can have multiple group chats. I've got DMs to people. I've got all these different servers where I can go in and just chat to different communities. And you know, your Discord is where you're loyal. Loyal's not a good word, I don't think. Your kind of most invested community members are going to be the people that really feel like they're part of that community. Maybe
Would die for you.
the ones that want to get to know the community, and you die for you is maybe a little strong. But like those people that want to really kind of get to know you and your community more are probably more likely to be in your Discord and to be able to chat to
I
you
always
off
wondered
stream.
why Kibbles had that ride or die channel.
I'm just waiting on a phone call when he needs a favor, you know.
Can you move a body?
I just want to quickly say a couple other points, which are things that were in the original sort of topic list for you know, building trust with your community, is the remembering little factoids about your community. When I was first starting, many years ago, when I was a young lad with no beard, somebody told me your first few viewers are your best friends, right? And as that scales, they're your best friends that are coming in there. The loyal people that are there every day, especially when you're first starting, everybody that comes into chat, assuming they're not a troll, they're your best friends. Remember stuff about them, right? And what I found was that at first it was like, okay, this person came in and said this thing. Try and remember that, you know, bank that somewhere. So next time they come in, I can ask them, oh, you were building a computer. How's that going? Or like, oh, I know you weren't feeling very well. You're feeling better today. Things like that. And what you notice is that it's so natural. Over time, if you do that, it just becomes natural. And now, you know, the people that are in my chat, I know a lot of their interests. I'm able to talk to them about things and hopefully usually remember things we were talking about previous streams. And I feel like that goes a huge way. You know, it makes a massive difference. And it's so easy to do to get started. And like I say, after a while, you won't even think about it. It is just part of that being a friend to people, because that's what you're there for, right? And you have to remember, they're not necessarily just viewers. They are your community, they're your friends, and you should know things about them, right? Makes a huge difference. So definitely a good tip when you're starting out. The other thing was, which I think is interesting, is how you deal with certain situations such as trolls or difficult members of the community, right? Now, I think we've probably all experienced maybe somebody who's just kind of toxic. Maybe they're not like a straight up troll that needs banned, but there's maybe some toxicity.
They're prickly.
And they're maybe affecting your chat. How you deal with that can set a precedent, because you could have 5 viewers, right? Now, maybe you don't want to ban this person because you don't want to go down to 4 viewers. But what you don't realize is that person might be putting 2 or 3 other viewers off, and they're not going to come back. So handling those, I think, is really important. You're all laughing, and I feel like I've missed something, but I'm assuming
Check Discord.
I can't check Discord because it will mess up the stream. But yeah, I think that's a good one. So like, I mean, how would you guys suggest dealing with that situation if you've got a troll? I mean, how do you guys handle trolls currently? Okay. For our audio listeners, you know what? Just watch the YouTube video of this. You'll understand.
As far as trolls go, I usually take a pretty relaxed approach to it. Like, if someone comes in and says something that's just straight up offensive, you just go, you know what, this isn't the place for that. Please take that elsewhere. There's just a zero tolerance policy on that. If someone comes in with a silly joke that's a bit on the cuff, or they come in with a silly username, I usually like to go with the, oh, nice try, or oh, you almost got me. Like, take it very lighthearted. I think for the most part, like, someone might just be, it might just be their sense of humor. It might be someone who wants to come engage with your community, but their way of doing that is just to be a bit of a troll. Like, as you said about regulars, you excluded trolls earlier. I was like, nah, when it comes to me, like, some of the people who've been in my community the longest time are the biggest trolls I know, and I love them for it. Like, that might just be someone's sense of humor, and I think taking a very light-hearted and open approach to it is usually something I go for. Like I say, barring anything that just crosses a line and is unnecessary, for the most part, yeah, just if someone comes in with a bit of a trolly sense of humor, play to it and see. Like, get to know people. Be open to meeting new people on Twitch, even if they are a bit of a lover of shenanigans. Like,
something to kind of bounce off of that, because I absolutely agree, and what Condi said too at the start about setting precedent is something to bear in mind. I work for just a brief thing about me. I worked for 9 years in mental health with like behavioral health and psychiatric patients. And here's the thing that a lot of people forget is that negative attention is still attention. Doing the bad thing, people who are not self-aware enough to realize why they're doing the thing to act out to get the attention in the first place, who are acting like a troll, sometimes they're just looking for validation and attention. And there's people obviously who like maybe craft the perfect joke and they're very, kind and considerate and whatnot, and they get attention in chat. The person who's trolling might see that and be like, well, I can get attention in chat, and they say a thing that's like real edgy, or they say a thing that is like slightly taboo, but like, like you said, just on the border there. And it's like, they may not be thinking I'm doing this to get attention, but I mean, it's just on a subconscious level, that's what they're getting. And for me, I think you sometimes have to also play it delicately whether or not you even engage it, because sometimes by engaging it you validate it, and by validating it then you give them more cause to continue to chime in. I don't really get trolls in my channel, thankfully, that often. On occasion I get people who try to escalate things or be very provocative, and if I can kind of, sometimes if it's not something that I need to say, hey, that's way over the line, don't say shit like that, if it's just more of a they're trying to push buttons, I just don't let them push my button.
yeah.
So like I just don't even acknowledge it. If somebody else like then sticks to the conversation at hand, and we were talking about films, or we were talking about the game itself, I'll engage that next person and I just don't acknowledge it. If it is something that's going to affect others in the chat, or it's already affecting others, I think that's the point that I usually want to step in, unless it's sort of a red card right off the start. But sometimes I just don't want to engage that troll, because doing so just elevates them. It's a soundbite that, let's say somebody's not even watching, they just have you on in the background, they're just kind of listening. Now they're hearing about this person, and that's kind of what they want. They want to be validated. So I think it can cut both ways. Yeah.
I always like to go for the extend the olive branch. If they come in with something trolly, like right off the bat, engage them, say hello to them, give them the opportunity to, as you said perfectly, they might be subconsciously looking for the attention, and that's the vehicle and the method by which they look to get it. If you say, hey, how's it going? Hope you're having a good day. Like, get them engaged. Maybe that's their way of trying to reach out for that engagement. And if you provide it to them in a positive manner, you've made a new contact. They now feel comfortable to start talking about things and start engaging in your chat and in your stream.
Yeah.
And as you say,
sure.
they're just going to keep rolling out the silliness, and if they're going to be disruptive to everyone else and bring an uncomfortable air to things, then there's a different route to take.
It can go really either way. You can't really judge it at first, because I've had people come in like that before, and they stick around. They come in every now and then another one came in last week, said someone a little weird, and I went, huh, all right, well, how are you doing? They didn't say anything after that. They came in yesterday again and said something, just dive bombed it. Like, okay, All right.
Yeah, I think the thing
Get rid of
is,
that.
it's sometimes, you know, I have had people that are still members of my community that come in and maybe they say something that's a little like, ooh, like a little bit of like a dark joke or something. And I always think, as long as it's not hurting anyone, like as long as it's not hatred aimed at me or someone in chat, even if it's aimed at me, I mean, the amount of things aimed at me, even during this hour and 10-minute podcast, honestly, it's, I've developed a thick skin about it, right? But like, if somebody's coming in and saying something about another member of the chat that I think is hateful or inappropriate, yeah, get them gone. But if somebody's maybe just coming in with an edgy joke, it's not hurting anybody, I like to do this, you know, extend the olive branch, like you were saying. And I've had people that came in like that, and I've maybe ended that stream being like, ugh, I'm going to keep an eye on this person. And then they're fine. I had somebody like that today that came in and made a kind of a weird joke. And I was like, okay. And I just sort of didn't really acknowledge it, said hello. And then they were completely normal for the rest of the stream. Pretty nice person, just hanging out. Like, it can sometimes go both ways. Sometimes I think being too strict can be a problem and just drive people out because you don't want to be
sure.
a no fun zone. However, I've been on the other hand of this where I had a community member who was just very argumentative and didn't really ever do anything over the line. They never I necessarily said anything that I felt was ban worthy, but they were very sort of pig-headed, very stubborn, and they just liked to argue. And over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, it became too much, and I had to eventually step in and ban, and that caused it to escalate, and their sort of true side came out. It all turned very nasty. And I was sitting there after that stream just annoyed at myself that I hadn't taken action quicker. I mean, we can't tell the future, right? We don't know how someone's going to be, but it was a kind of a big lesson for me that, okay, I maybe let things slide for too long, and that became, and I wouldn't be surprised if people stopped watching my stream based on that, because when an argument breaks out in the chat between people, like, it's very difficult to try and stay positive. And you know, it's nobody likes breaking up their content to go, guys, can we just stop fighting? Like, you know. And then also you don't, like, it's hard not to take sides, and it's a mess. So I think there is definitely a very fine balance, and nobody's going to get it right 100% of the time. But if it's impacting your chat, other members of your community, or the overall vibe, you have to step in quick and just make sure that's dealt with. That's my biggest
Absolutely, because they also, like, for me, I mean, it's just one of those things where you have to look at it. I don't, unless it's like the obvious ones where it's just like, nah, get out of here type of thing. I mean, we all know what those are, and
yes,
they're not.
Your beard
easily
sucks. Yeah, immediate ban.
I can't believe you shaved your head. You look terrible.
Scuffed Tin the Tat Man.
Exactly.
Not anymore. He
But, I
shaved his
mean-
beard. I was heartbroken.
He did. Yeah, he shaved his beard. I saw that.
I cried. I
way
cried
different.
myself to sleep. Anyway,
Well, now I bet you're kind of like, you know, there can only be one, so you basically won, right? Like that's what happened right now, right?
Yeah.
You won.
yeah, I wore.
You are the
bear.
Highlander.
You are the Highlander. But it's just one of the things you have to like look at kind of all sides of it, because a lot of times I look at depending on what it is, I look at it as almost a test on me. What's this guy's personality? How does he, you know, they come in and be like, you're garbage. How you were like,
How do you
insta
handle
ban.
it?
It's like, I mean, really, or just gonna be like, nah, you're right. I am absolute garbo. I don't know, just whatever it is. Just I see sometimes as almost like just a test for me. They're just testing you just to see kind of like, do you kind of vibe with me, or are you kind of like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me because I'm a sarcastic asshole, and so it's like that's what I would do. I don't know.
I mean, same.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, listen, we did get a question in chat. I don't think we have time to dive into this today because this looks like a meaty topic, right? So so the question was to do with moderators. I think we table that for next week. Come back to that. Let's wrap up the show here. First of all, I just want to say thank you for everyone who's been watching in the live stream. I do really appreciate it. We all do. First of all, then, second of all, let's do some shout outs. So, Grog, where can people find you on the internet, and do you have anything you want to plug? Do your thing.
People can find me on Twitter at gamer_grog because Twitter reasons. Just can't get the handle you want sometimes. You can find me on Twitch and YouTube at just_grog. I don't have as much like I don't have a lot of video content out on YouTube. I'm working to fix that, but I am like streaming regularly, 4 sometimes 5 days a week now. And Lauren, my wife, and I have been doing some like fun brief streams together. So hopefully we can do more of that in the future.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we'll save Java for last. Let's go Polar next. Where can everybody find you? What do you want to plug?
You can find me on the Twitters at polar_J with a 0 instead of O because of Twitter. Sir Humps on Instagram.
I forgot about this. I need to find that
Yeah.
account still.
And Twitch, the polar_J, it's there. That's me.
All right, awesome. Kibbles.
You can find me on Twitch, where I stream 7 days a week. I'm just doing a lot of Warzone. YouTube, where I'm going to be doing a video on, hey, look, Dungeons and Dragons animated series.
Awesome.
And Twitter with DA instead of, well, it looks like AD, instead of the, because Twitter.
Awesome. Thank you. And Java, where can everyone find you? What do you want to plug?
Well, you can find me at Twitch at twitch.tv/JavaMonkey_, because, well, there's a story there for another time. Don't change your username on Twitch, ladies and gentlemen. They won't let you change it back.
Even for a meme.
Especially for a meme. You can also find me on Twitter with the same JavaMonkey_, consistent branding. It's the key. Speaking of which, no underscore on YouTube. It's literally just JavaMonkey. You can find me there. Thank you to Quarantine for giving me more time to upload YouTube content. And finally, we have a Discord server as well that I've done a bunch of overhaul on recently. So we obviously play a variety of games: Destiny, Final Fantasy XIV, Valorant, Borderlands, and Monster Hunter. So really cultivating a community there. Would love to see people drop by and say hello and spend some time with us all there.
Awesome.
You will also, icing on the cake, find me on the Zero Strategy podcast again very soon.
Yay!
I'm actually back.
That's amazing. We're glad to have you back. We've missed you.
I'm glad to be back. It's been a pleasure.
All right, and I'm Condyfly. You can find me on Twitch, YouTube, everywhere. Condyfly. Twitter has an extra Y on the end because again,
But what happened?
I'm kind of
your name.
I'm
right?
kind of
I
a
mean,
bad boy. I'm kind of a rebel, and I was actually banned. It's no big deal. It's nothing. So you can find me there. And also, I just want to say, if you are listening to the audio version, we do stream this live on Twitch. The channel is twitch.tv/Zero Strategy Podcast. We also have a YouTube, which is Zero Strategy, and a Twitter. So if you could check us all out there, all of these episodes get posted onto Spotify, and then some point in the next 5 to 7 weeks, the YouTube channel gets an upload as well.
Excuse you.
Yeah. We also, very excitingly, we have some content that we've been working on, unrelated to the podcast, some group content that's going to be coming out to that channel. I have been working all through the night to edit these videos, and I would really appreciate
it's
if you
real
guys would
good.
check it out.
Super good.
So the Zero Strategy YouTube channel, that will be up some point in this coming week. And if you like it, let us know so we can do more.
And next week, we're going to start doing daily uploads.
Oh God. Even with the lockdown, I don't have time for that. So, but yeah, if you guys would check it out. Also, anyone watching in the live stream, we're gonna go do a raid. So if you could stick around for just a few minutes, that would be much appreciated. We're gonna end the podcast here. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you guys next week.